Welcome to the Human Frequency. We have an update on the fire situation in California. Prescribed burns have resumed. The Forest Service and the media is being rather cryptic about the situation. So we had to do a little bit of digging to find out what was going on, why smoke has returned to our skies in Southern California, and what really is going on with the wildfires up in Northern California.
So we're going to just go straight to the blog and catch up on the last week to a week and a half of action, because lots have been going on, not just in regards to fires, whether they be real fires or artificially set, but also rain in parts of the country that are normally not seen at this time of year, and certainly ones that help to put out the two biggest fires in California right now.
Yes, and you're not going to find out what's going on by looking at a news story or two, because they are so incomplete. I literally have to look at many, many stories, take a piece of information from each one, put it all together, and get a complete picture. And a lot of these news stories, they'll tell you how quick you can read them. You noticed when one of them, it said 2-minute read.
Yeah, I'll point that out when we get to it. It's like it's all set up for people to, I don't want to waste 5 minutes reading that one. I'm going to save 3 minutes and read this 2-minute article. So it's just so ridiculous. The human attention span is just, I don't even need to go on about that.
It's very low. And so we're hoping that if you have a half hour to spend with us or so, I don't know how long this is going to take, we can piece it all together, especially if you live in California. You're going to want to know what's going on. It will alleviate some fears and also just shed some light on what's going on. Why is there smoke in the sky again? Fortunately, we're not having a terrible wildfire season like they want to play it up. So let's go right into, I'll share the screen and go right into the blog, and we'll do a little week in review.
And contradictions aplenty here. So I'll do my best to shed some light on those as well. So what do we got going here first? September 7th, we have rain coming, as I mentioned, and you can kind of see on the map there, it's right at that part of California that is suffering the most with the Dixie Fire that they have let burn for, it's got to be a month and a half now or something like that, right?
Yeah, but the Dixie Fire is out. I can tell you that it's out as of the 7th, which is now a little over a week ago, but this is where we're starting. We could see that the only active fires at that time were these 5. Right now, currently, there are only 3. The Dixie Fire and Caldor Fire are at a very high percentage containment. Dixie Fire is something like 85% today. Caldor Fire is, I think, around 75%. These fires are, however, out. Containment just measures the ditch around it that the fire department digs. They bulldoze around the fire to prevent it from jumping over that line.
Yeah, I was going to make that distinction. We didn't say that these fires were contained. We just said that they're out, they're extinguished. They will never report on whether a fire is extinguished or not. As you said, they will only report on the progress of the ditch that they're digging around this now massive fire. So of course it's taking a long time.
So let's look at some of the images from Weather Service. This is from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where I get a lot of weather maps. And this was actually a week ago. They were showing the rain coming in to Northern California exactly on that burn area. And we also have a satellite image from that time period, which shows some very unusual activity in the jet stream. This is due to the monsoonal effects that are still going on. However, now patterns are shifting because we are in mid-September and this is the end of the monsoon season. But a week ago, we were still seeing this effect.
Yeah, you can see, and I'm going to just show a little bit of what's going on and what I did here. You can see California there. You can see the system coming up from the Sonoran Desert, which is normal at this time of year, but you can also see this more wide sweeping kind of spiral going on here. And what I did that week was I aimed our chembuster, excuse me, I aimed our chembuster to the southwest, or more like southwest. In other words, right, sort of like where we are, right at this general area, in order to make it a more sweeping action so that it would carry into Northern California, which you can see is happening here. And to go back to the rain map, it's certainly these rains that would normally just hit the eastern part of California and miss Northern California, since it's more to the west. Now what's going on is, or what was going on a week or a week and a half ago, is that it would sweep wider and come back up. And this is why, the Caldor Fire is about there. Dixie Fire is more like about right here. So both of these fires were in the direct path of this rain system that came through. So this is a tremendous success, not just in obviously putting the fire out, but in getting the monsoon system to come much further north. Following Project Monsoon, we never could have imagined that these systems would be going that far north. They're going into Oregon, Idaho, Montana, even Eastern Washington. So
we also have
some
very helpful people up in Idaho doing some good work too, that's helping there. And in northeastern California, we are having a little bit of help there as well. There's also, let me pull up the next entry. This is about a week ago. I will scroll up.
Impressive rain totals there.
Yeah, we'll go over all that. On September 9th, which is just over a week ago, this is the day when this rain system was really coming in. And I think I'll just show some gratuitous cloud pictures. Although this is our neighborhood, not Northern California, but the mountains of Southern California, you could see incredible OR transmutations. In the upper levels of the atmosphere, you see DOR clouds changing and coming together before they are removed from the sky. And they come together beautifully as pollutants are removed from the atmosphere and hydrogen bonds form between water molecules. You get these unusual shapes, and they're rounded because of the OR spiral, that spiraling orgone energy. And we also have some nice cumulus clouds forming, even nice cloud shadows against the mountain. So this is what was going on here.
I just want to take a moment to say that if you're looking at some of Sharon's media from about 2015 or so, we've learned so much since then. Even 6 years ago, this very sky here, we would not have understood it terribly well. We still would have been a bit confused as to what was going on, but we've learned so much since then. So if you're looking at some of those older media appearances, as I said, we've learned a lot since then, and we were wrong about some things, and we've made every effort to correct what we know that we were wrong about.
Well, the big wrong was the whole chemtrail doctrine of aluminum, barium, strontium, that kind of stuff.
Right.
We don't know what kind of pollutants are up there. We also are pretty sure from our work that these chemtrails are not actually any threat at all, but just a visual cue to let us know about energetic factors in the atmosphere.
I just say that now because I know that even today, certain people would look at this picture right here and be totally freaked out about the clouds behind the clouds, if you will.
Well, they'd be freaked out by these clouds too, because I've seen people posting things online saying, whoa, weird, terrible skies. And I look at it and I say, wow, those are some nice OR skies.
Georestoration.
Yeah. So you do see a little bit of electromagnetic influence here. This is that push and pull between OR and DOR as this stuff is removed and these nice water vapor clouds are forming. So this was a beautiful day here. You can see this one literally leaping forth.
Yeah, this is not anything to be scared about. If you've been following Sharon's blog for the past several years, you will be able to see that push and pull that's going on is much more weighted to OR than it was back even just 5 or 6 years ago.
So here on the 9th, you could see we were having some rain in Southern California. This is monsoonal rain out in the desert. Victorville and other areas of the desert had flood warnings. So this was pretty significant. You could see that the prediction for rain coming into the burn areas of Northern California had yet increased. This is what was happening on September 10th and 11th. And I would also like to just go through these satellite images.
And I would just quickly like to point out on the rain map here, the amount that's coming into Northern California is also interesting because it's the lowest amount that registers on that scale, the light green. This is an amount that's just going to be a gentle soaking of the burn areas and not cause all those catastrophic mudslides and property being destroyed, things that the media really loves to glom onto and play that up. So with these very light amounts, 1/10 of an inch, definitely no more than 1/4 inch of rain, those destructive actions are not going to take place.
So on the night of the 9th, you could see the radar here. Look at all this wonderful rain coming into Northern California. And as Gabe showed you, it was whipping around here and coming up. So it is coming in from the west after all. And then later in the night, over in the wee hours of the morning, a significant dousing of rain on all of the burn areas in Northern California, which would lead us to say, well, they're going to report a containment, but these fires have got to be out. A fire cannot withstand this much rain.
And also the fact that the news is now playing up all of the sequoia tree drama going on further south, and they're not really talking about the Dixie Fire much at all.
No,
So,
I did a search on it today, and there was very little.
again, this is further evidence that both of these fires are actually out, and they got to finish their ditch.
We just had beautiful skies on September 10th. I mean, gorgeous, beautiful, negatively ionized, pristine, perfect OR skies. The final result of gifting Organite is a sky like this. We enjoy these all the time here.
September 10th, this was, I
Mhm.
think. Yeah.
So let's move on to more of the news regarding the fires, because we had a wildfire here in our area on September 11th. So let's move up to that. So on September 11th, I don't have an article for September 11th. However, we are covering that here. On September 15th is when the prescribed burns resumed here. On September 11th, along I-5 near Templin Highway, there was a wildfire. It burned about 400 acres. It was called the Root Fire, and it was extinguished by the next day and declared no longer a CAL FIRE incident as of September 14th. As you could see, as of September 15th, 2 days ago, we only had 3 fires. The situation is still the same. However, containment has increased on these. So our situation of wildfire is not terrible right now.
And just to show you, here's the location of it on the map there. So yeah, very close to us, but as you can see, not a big deal, not many acres burned, and we saw no smoke from it.
No,
Of
we didn't
course,
get any smoke.
it was to the southeast of us, which would be against the direction that the wind is coming from, which is from the northwest this time of year.
So the prescribed burns have definitely resumed. I can just go over a little bit of my article here. The Forest Service has closed off public lands in California. They closed off all national forests in California on August 23rd, with the September 17th reopening date. That is today. However, not all of the forests are reopening today. They were closing them for the reason of fire risk. They didn't want people in there because they said it was bad conditions, could cause fires. However, I have reason to believe that these closures were so that they could conduct prescribed burns, and I will tell you why. So this root fire is now out, and according to our local paper, this was 2 days ago, smoky skies due to drift smoke from other areas. They are not saying, though, from these Northern California fires like they were trying to say before. Smoke means to say in. Smoke in the skies throughout the mountain communities is from fires in other areas. According to Kern County Fire Department Captain Raul Melgoza at Station 56 in Lebec, Melgoza confirmed there are no fires in our local area at this time. However, we woke up on September 15th. This isn't terrible, but there was a haze in the sky to the west, and it did increase throughout the day. It was not a pretty day. However, it was high OR. It wasn't a DOR haze that we were seeing. It was fire smoke. I actually have seen a burn area nearby in Forest Service land. I can say that they are burning something out there.
Well, yeah, when the Forest Service is saying we're closing this area because of fire danger, well, that's where they're starting their fires. That's where they're doing their burns, and they don't want people in there seeing that, because that would ruin this whole reporting thing that they're doing, where they're saying that it's this terrible smoke coming from this terrible fire 500 miles away. They can't even do that anymore.
Also, I noted that all smoke in our local area is caused by fires other than wildfire, since there was no wildfire on September 15th. All evidence points to prescribed burns once again. We are not having an air quality advisory today, but the air is smoky and smells like smoke.
Yeah,
there
interesting.
Should have been an air quality advisory on weather.com. There's no excuse for there not to be, other than they are obscuring what's going on here, because previously during these prescribed burns, when the Forest Service was able to play it up as if it was a wildfire causing the smoke, which you can look at our other Wildfire Wars episodes to see what they've been doing this summer. When they were trying to play that up, the Weather Channel would have a report of air quality advisory every day when a prescribed burn was planned, and the time period was specifically for when the burn was scheduled.
Right. And they knew exactly when they were going to start doing it and when they were going to stop doing it.
And as you can see today, you could see the difference between the fiery, smoky sky 2 days ago and today. Obviously, I didn't report yesterday because it was Yom Kippur, but there was no fire yesterday either. And interestingly enough, let's go back. What I wrote today, what's interesting to me is how could they pass up an opportunity to burn the woods on Yom Kippur? I mean, every holy day on God's calendar, they always do this kind of stuff. I've noticed this repeatedly. For example, yesterday it was Yom Kippur, and we were fasting and we were worshiping, and we got a call from a 202 number that's Washington, D.C. I always get these junk calls from Republican committee and all this stuff. And that, we're not Americans. We're not citizens. We're not involved in that. And
we're not Republicans.
And we're not Republicans. And certainly we do not answer the phone on a holy day, especially for a solicitor from a pagan organization. So that was to be expected. Also, we were woken up very rudely a little before 8 by tree work being done in the neighborhood. This is always happening. This is Satan's mind control. He always wants this stuff going on God's holy days and on his prescribed times.
So of course, the destruction of the Creator's creation on this holy day, and
it didn't happen.
And it was one of those wood chippers that you feed the tree branches into, and it just makes that ungodly noise, and it is an ungodly noise, and at an ungodly time.
Yeah, and of course destroying trees is ungodly as well. Well, that's what this is all about here. We're talking about destruction of habitat, and as you can see, it did not happen on today or yesterday, on the 16th and 17th. Right after I called out that they're starting prescribed burns again, they stopped, although our forest is closed for a few more days so they can finish up. I don't know if they're going to be finishing
until
up.
The 22nd. There's one up near Lake Tahoe that's closed until September 30th. We'll talk about that at the very end, what their planned schedule is. But yeah, we've had two days of clean air here. Let's hope that we can build on that. And I mean, maybe they are watching, and they're a little afraid of it's just exposure. It's just we are doing our best to expose the little tricks that they have, and it's not working.
We're going to go through a few of the articles where I found this information, but I do have to wonder if the stopping of the burns is due to us calling them out again, like the last time. If you check out the last Wildfire Wars video, you'll see that they are watching and they're paying attention. And when people call them out on stuff, they don't like to be exposed. On September 13th, there was an article posted in a Santa Fe, New Mexico publication announcing the resuming of prescribed burns in New Mexico. And they do have a contract here in the state of California to burn 1 million acres a year. There's a contract between U.S. Forest Service and state of California. And of course, this year, California is way behind on ecological destruction, having only purposely torched 35,000 acres of forest. So we can go into it and check out some of these sources.
So they got a lot of catching up to do, in other words.
They sure do. And we can be assured they will be burning a lot of pristine, beautiful woodlands in our state.
So here's that Santa Fe publication. Forest Service plans prescribed burns for fall and winter.
Interestingly, I don't know if they're going to be able to because of all the rain. And this is for New Mexico specifically. New Mexico had incredible monsoonal moisture. Do you want me to just quickly show that map before you read?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. This is just one example of, you can go through the entire month of August and see just one after another of these examples.
Yeah, if you check out my blog during the month of August, this is late August, August 27th through September 3rd. This is what happened within a 7-day period in the continental US. As you could see, the Southwest was absolutely doused with monsoonal moisture. This isn't even as good as it got in New Mexico. They were setting rain records all summer. And also, just incidentally, that was the drought buster for Minnesota as well. All these places that are so-called drought-plagued states, got ample rain. We saw very, very little rain in the Southwest in 2019 and 2020 during the summer. They called it a non-soon, but we did Project Monsoon, a tremendous gridding project of Arizona in June. And that changed everything. And the floodgates were opened. So we had tremendous rain in that area.
So we're going to just do a little in-depth analysis of this article because there's so many things there. There's contradictions right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read this first paragraph. Although a healthy monsoon has reduced the region's wildfire risks this summer, forest managers have begun prioritizing areas for prescribed burns to thin, dense growth that can turn to tinder as the drought persists. So again, they contradict themselves. A healthy monsoon, drought persists. So you got to just look at this and understand that, okay, they're lying to me right off the bat. And this is also, why don't we go up to this picture? Because they said this is from 2018.
No kidding. They do that all the time. They put the wrong pictures with these articles all the time.
I just happened to see this as I was reading that paragraph. They do this constantly because they can only use past images. Like when we were talking about the non-soon, the 2 years or probably more than 2 years in a row, where there just was a very anemic and lacking monsoon season in that area, Arizona and New Mexico. So they have to use a picture like that because if they use a current picture, they're not even able to light it on fire. This whole area here is probably completely green and lush, and they wouldn't even be able to start the fire in the first place.
Oh yeah, the news from Tucson and other areas in Arizona and in New Mexico were all about incredible greenery. In fact, a weed problem now in Tucson, Arizona, and people are now battling weeds in their yard. They never had to deal with that before.
Yeah, so about 15 sites have been proposed for the controlled burns. None have been scheduled, and it's possible the burning may not begin until next year, depending on several factors, such as weather and the availability of fire crews who are on alert to help battle wildfires in other states. Okay, so what they're saying is we want to do this, but the weather's not allowing us to do it.
All that rain, even if it's not raining. That's
why we have to use an image from 3 years ago.
Well, even if it's not raining currently, the ground is so saturated. I mean, here in Southern California, we almost had a non-fire season this year, and they really wanted to torch us, but all they could do is some of these small controlled burns in our area. So not all of the proposed burns will be carried out, a Santa Fe Forest spokeswoman said. The list of potential projects is much greater than the list of actual projects that get implemented. And of course, the reason for this is it cannot be done. So let's go down to, I wanted to talk about the air quality issues in regards to these forests, because when they're burning these forests, some area residents have expressed concerns about prescribed burns, saying they generate smoke that is unhealthy to breathe and aggravates respiratory problems. Absolutely. This is a huge problem here. We do not want to be inhaling this stuff. There's no reason to deliberately pollute the air and deliberately destroy this ecosystem. They claim it's good for the land. The one forest advocacy group says the purpose of prescribed burns is to protect forests from raging fires that would produce suffocating smoke.
I love this. Well, first of all, I love that they separate every sentence into a paragraph.
Well, they always do that now. It's low attention span.
It's so annoying. But anyway, this is absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to protect this forest by torching it.
Right. That's what they say. Okay. They claim that it'll make the wildfires less severe by getting rid of some of these fuels. That's what they call it, fuel reduction. One forest advocacy group says, oh, I read that
part.
I like clean air and clean water. I try to work for everyone, said Eitan, okay, I can't read this name, Krasolovsky, Deputy Director of the Forest Stewards Guild. We're trying to follow the science, and I don't know what that means. Honestly, I can't even begin to decipher what kind of science they're following. But what they're saying is that they're going to actually provide HEPA filters to homes affected by forest smoke, as opposed to not creating the air pollution. This is what we're dealing with here. It's completely backwards.
Maybe they're following the science of HEPA filters.
It makes no sense.
It's ridiculous, but this should come as no surprise to anyone. So they just, again, they say, we acknowledge that the smoke isn't good for any of us, but the smoke from controlled and managed prescribed fire operations is far, far less than smoke from a high severity wildfire. That is a lie.
It's not
That is a
true.
blatant lie. And we've seen it here. When they light the prescribed burns, the smoke doesn't just float up into the air and dissipate. No, it lingers at ground level. It
Yeah.
makes the air quality very, very
It
bad.
hurts.
That's why they're giving air quality alerts in the weather forecast, because it's just not safe to breathe that air. You can smell it. It has an odor to it.
Yeah, and it also really starts to make you sick after a while. This is interesting that the agency conducts computer modeling to gauge how the fires will burn and where the smoke will drift. This is interesting to me because they use computer modeling for weather, and now they're using it to try to figure out where the fires are going, or the smoke from the fire is going to go. But computer modeling cannot really explain real atmospheric phenomena. And as Gabe said, it really does just settle on the population. There's no way around that. If you're doing these large scale burns of thousands of acres, it is the same as a wildfire. They're saying that it's not as bad, but it is essentially the same thing.
They also claim that the smoke from the California fires drifts all the way over there. That's not true either. This is smoke from prescribed burns, just like we saw here. But they're getting less and less able to get away with that excuse now.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're also going on these faulty weather models. They're talking about climate change in a way that it's not actually happening. Climate change is real. We monitor this every day. My whole blog is about climate change. The fact is they have not taken into account widespread orgonite gifting, which has created a cooler, wetter climate by neutralizing all their DOR sources that have led to drought. So we have to take into account that their modeling systems, they're all based on computer models of things that were set up in the last few years, maybe years ago, but they have not played out the way they planned it. It was all planned. There's no coincidence that every street corner in Phoenix, Arizona has 3 cell towers. They don't need that for cell phone service. This whole thing's been planned a long time, but now it's being undone and they don't have the tools to understand that.
And they can't work with those changes. And the last 2 sentences of this article prove that. Krasilovsky said, well-managed low-intensity fire is one of the best ways to enable the forests to better withstand drought and a changing climate. Drought is going away. The climate is changing, but not in the way that they say. It raises the importance of maintaining these efforts so we can be ready as we can be for the hotter, drier future, he said. A future that isn't happening.
Right.
The exact opposite is happening. They just can't work with reality. They can only work with their computer models.
I'm going to close this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we also found out about the plans, and we already kind of knew based on what you heard in our last episode about the contract between the Forest Service and state of California to burn 1 million acres a year. This is what's planned, is more and more controlled burns. What they're having is a wildfire deficit, they say, although we did have wildfires in California, and according to the media, pretty bad ones up north. There's no way for us to verify the severity of them. They did seem pretty bad from our vantage point, but still they say it's not enough. So on the one hand, they're saying worst fires ever. On the other hand, they're saying we're having a fire deficit. So the West is now taking a clue from the East, why the South is decades ahead of the West in wildfire prevention. So they're saying that in Florida, they've been doing this for a long time, and now California needs to emulate Florida and do more prescribed burns. So what they said here was that from 1998 to 2018, 70% of all controlled burning in the country was in the Southeast. And what they're saying now is we need to catch up. California needs to catch up with this and do more controlled burns, they say, for the reason of preventing wildfires. But I think this is because they need more food.
Yeah, why do they need so much? It's like they need it. Like they keep saying this in the it's in one of these articles. They need fires.
Yeah, let me scroll down.
Why do they need fires? Well, here's the part about the American Indians.
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff about that. So one of the things they're doing is they're saying that American Indians, here it says that American Indians used prescribed burns culturally as part of their culture to prevent wildfires. That's coming up a lot. That's how they're able to get us to agree that this is an okay thing to do. I need to go down to.
I just wanted to point out This month, the U.S. Forest suspended the controlled burns because of the extensive fires burning in record dry conditions. Both of those things are not true. There are no extensive fires and there are no record dry conditions. So you see what's going on here is that this is why you were saying you have to look through multiple sources and sort of put the pieces of the puzzle together, because you're not going to get accurate information. You're going to get very little you can use in any given source.
This is what I was looking for. Western states have a long way to go. Florida has done prescribed burns on more than 1.6 million acres so far this year. California has only burned around 35,000 acres. The state is 2.5 times larger than Florida. Now, of course, California has the goal to burn 1 million, but I have to just wonder how much of Florida was burned. If it's true that 1.6 million acres of a state that is less than half of the size of California was burned on purpose, they must be having horrible air quality there. I would like to hear from someone from Florida on this and know exactly what's really going on there, because this sounds like an astronomical amount of air being air pollution, an astronomical amount of forest being burned, and crazy amounts of air pollution. And the other thing is, I would love to hear from an American Indian who has done prescribed burns to know how it's actually done, because I don't know if these articles are telling me the truth.
Yeah,
about
we
that.
would love to hear from someone like that, not from some smug, hyper-liberal NPR worker who is caving under the oppressive weight of their white guilt. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So this is what we're looking at. This article also points out the 1 million acres that are going to be burned.
They cite their contractual agreement
again.
again.
They have to. You know what that means? That's a contract. They have to. We should expect more wildfires in the future.
I love this. About half of California is privately owned. Actually, all of California is publicly owned.
Right. It's all owned by the
state of California.
If you think that you own your piece of land, think again.
That's another huge, huge lie. Ownership. It's just not possible.
They're saying that the private landowners, so meaning the people who hold title to public property,
Right,
are having a hard time getting California to approve their burns on their property. I can tell you, I don't know anybody who burns their property. And we live in a rural area. I know no one who, they burn their leaves, which I hate. It makes a ton of air pollution. They burn their foliage. They like to rip up the sage, put it in a pile and burn it, but they are not doing prescribed burns.
This is very interesting. They are critical in this larger vision of California living with fire. Gee, that sounds like a parasitic vision to me.
It sure does.
I don't see the same vision.
I don't see us living with fire. I see us living with rain. I see us living with water, green grass, abundant food. I don't see the same vision that they see. And I think that's important to know, that it's all about your mindset. These guys have a certain idea in their head already of how it's going to be based on past things that are no longer happening.
So here it gets into the legal liability for these, what they call burn bosses, who are the ones sort of overseeing the prescribed burn operations. And if a fire does get out of hand and jump whatever restraints that they put on it, and it just starts burning out of control, these people used to have serious legal liability. They had trouble getting insurance coverage because of the type of work that they do, which is understandable.
This is assuming this is true, that anybody even really wants to burn their own property. I don't want to burn my property. That would be crazy.
But the point is that these legislators in California are considering this bill that would protect burners from being charged for the firefighting resources that would be needed if a burn escapes. So they're restructuring the whole system of their legal system of how these people are held accountable if they are negligent.
And I find this very interesting too. And most of the time we're doing these projects for public benefit, to reduce wildfire risk, to restore habitat, and for cultural reasons. We are seeing this tremendous push in the media. And I will say, it's not like it's way out there in the mainstream everywhere for people to see. It's mostly in these NPR articles. And if you want to know about prescribed burns, you kind of have to look for it, because the mainstream media is just going on the premise that we assume that these are wildfires creating the smoke. But if you look and you dig around in these NPR articles, you'll see that they are really pushing this cultural reasons in order to justify it. So this is why I say I would love to hear from somebody who actually did this for cultural reasons and know how you did it, because I'm not sure that these guys really are reporting it accurately.
So we're going to restore the habitat by destroying it. This is the parasitic logic at work here. And
This
there's
is the
more.
bill. This is the bill
Yeah,
that's
this is
going to be enacted in California. So this is proof that they are going to be burning up the land on purpose. We know about their contract already, but now not only will the Forest Service be doing 1 million acres a year, but there will be others in addition to that. Prescribed burns could help reduce California's wildfires. A new bill could help make planned fires more frequent. This is not just for the Forest Service. This is for everyone.
Yep.
After decades of fire suppression in California, prescribed burns have regained traction as one method to boosting the resilience of forests during catastrophic wildfires. California passed Senate Bill 332 last week, which would change liability laws around setting prescribed burns. Advocates hope that this will encourage more individuals to set prescribed burns, which are planned fires aimed at managing forest land and reducing fuel loads that frequently lead to large wildfires throughout the state. The bill now sits on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. He has until the end of October to decide its fate. Last year, California and federal officials committed to treating 1 million acres of forest land annually via prescribed burns and other methods by 2025. Okay, so it looks like they're not going to be starting it right away, but that is the plan.
Other methods.
That's interesting.
That's a little vague.
Oh, that's a little scary. I have to say that's a little scary.
Arson, could that be an other method?
The other thing that makes me think of is the energy weapon that they used in Santa Rosa. That was like the 9/11 weapon that set the Wildfires. I can't help but think about that. Although that doesn't really burn trees, so that's probably not going to be it. We'll see. But yeah, they are definitely pushing the tribal burns here.
And also just from a cultural standpoint, it's like a fire culture with the media, even just leaving the American Indians out of it for the moment, just the way the media does this year after year. They start in May or June when the weather starts to get hot, is that they launch into this, oh, we're in a horrible drought, fire, everything is burning up. It just things are just spontaneously combusting. It's so hot, which of course is a lie. And nobody even questions it.
Right.
Nobody even looks outside and sees the green grass that's growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very heavy mind control going on, but because they can't set the wildfires like they'd like to, like here in California, we had almost no wildfires. And when we did, they burned a few hundred acres and the fire department was able to put them out. It was not the kind of wildfire season we had in the past, like 2018, the horrible fire in Malibu. I mean, this was just catastrophic, but this monsoonal rain that we've brought back into California has definitely eased that. This is, to me, the most important part of the article here, and this is very, very damning. The bill changes current liability laws around prescribed burns by requiring a show of gross negligence before burn bosses and cultural fire practitioners can be found liable for burns gone wrong. The standard more closely mirrors those found in other states, leading the way on prescribed burns, like Florida. The state previously required only simple negligence to hold individuals liable for burns. This stricter standard made it incredibly risky for cultural fire practitioners and burn bosses to commit to controlled burning. This is extremely important here. It used to be that only a little bit of negligence and these guys would be sued. If the fire went out of control and damaged property, they would be sued. Now they are immune in most cases. It would have to be determined that it was gross negligence. So what you're seeing is an easing of standards, meaning that people are really at risk. Anybody who lives around a property where this is happening is really at risk now.
And there's no justice to be found in the legal system, because it could just be argued that, no, this wasn't gross negligence. This was merely simple negligence. And now that's acceptable. And these people are immune from lawsuits. So they have, it is, I think there's a mention here.
I'm trying to find
a disincentive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. There's such a disincentive for people to do this work because of these liability issues. So the people who are doing it, I think, are putting themselves at risk. Well, that risk is suddenly going away now that they're scaling back, they're restructuring this whole thing.
So if it's true that people with acreage actually want to burn their own properties, they now put at risk all of their neighbors. I mean, this is a huge, huge risk. And this is what they want to see. And they say these fires rarely go wrong. But the fact is that a controlled burn can become out of control and cause a wildfire, a real wildfire. So we have to be very concerned about this.
Yes, I like this too. Burners only set prescribed flames when weather conditions are right. Well, that's pretty vague, meaning when the smoke can blow right into a community and they can lie to them and say that it's coming from a wildfire 500 miles away. Maybe for them, that's the the right weather conditions.
It also might mean when it's not raining or when the ground isn't too wet to set a fire. We really have been spared in Southern California this year. Despite the controlled burns, we've really been spared.
Yeah, you can just go into the blog archive, do a little bit of digging, and you can look at any of those Cal Fire maps. There's very little going on in the southern half of California this year.
And so what this all comes down to is we're still dealing with a psyop of major proportions. They really do have this agenda to, it's all about mind control. They have this agenda to make us believe that somehow we are responsible for this through creating climate change. I don't even know what that means. I mean, they're saying that what we're driving cars, that's causing this. This isn't what's causing this. This is clearly a planned effort. A lot of these wildfires, which we did show in an earlier episode, were set by arson, and they determined that it was set by arson. So we are looking at a massive arson campaign, and now we're looking at planned wildfires. So now it's becoming acceptable and okay to set fires on purpose. And what we have come to the realization is that these forests were closed for the reason of prescribed burns. There is a specific prescribed burn schedule going on right now. And actually, most of them are reopening today, but the ones that aren't reopening, it's for a good reason. And that is that they're not done with their work.
See what I mean about fire culture? And here it is, yeah, 2-minute read. So if you've only got a minute 45 seconds to burn, then bad pun. If you only have that much time to kill, you probably shouldn't read this article. It's too long for you.
This picture here is our beautiful area there where we live.
Yeah, this is
Route 33 through the Los Padres National Forest. This was taken last year.
Beautiful road.
It is a beautiful road. If you're ever in the area, I definitely recommend going to Ojai and driving on Highway 33. It's absolutely lovely. And I know someone did some major gifting out there besides us, because when we arrived to gift a few years ago, it was already green.
Mm-hmm. It was quite the spectacle.
So all but 5 of California's national forests previously closed under an emergency order issued in late August will reopen 2 days early, officials said Tuesday. The closure order will end 11:59 p.m. It's like they know what time. I mean, come on. Is that when the wildfire risk ends?
Taking a break at midnight.
Wednesday, 2 days before Friday's original end date. Okay, so they actually stopped them. Today is the official end date, but they stopped them early, except for a few. One of them's ours. Forest-wide closures will remain in place until midnight, September 22nd, for the Los Padres, Angeles, San Bernardino, and Cleveland National Forests in Southern California because of weather and fire factors and a temporary strain on firefighting resources battling blazes in other areas of the state, the Forest Service said. So maybe they are continuing their prescribed burns a little longer in these areas. Based on today's air, they're not doing it right now, which is very fortunate.
In addition, the El Dorado National Forest in Northern California, it's actually in Central California, will stay closed until September 30th, the Forest Service said.
Well, we call a lot of parts they call Northern California are actually central, but most people
like
would.
San Francisco.
Yeah, you live in Central
They get
California.
very upset.
San Francisco, you're in Central California, just like Bakersfield and Fresno. How do you like that? But anyway, this is really like up north near Lake Tahoe. And I will show you on the map where it's located. This is El Dorado National Forest here. And where's the Caldor Fire? Do you want to point that out?
Caldor Fire is right around this area here. It's encroached. It was encroaching on southern Lake Tahoe, but that is, as you can see, it's very close. Like I would say probably just about 5, no more than 10 miles from. It depends on how big it is, of course. That's just where they have the text that says El Dorado Forest.
Temporarily closed.
I don't know where the actual boundaries of the forest are, but it's needless to say,
It's near the burn
very,
area.
very close to the burn area. So this is an opportunity for them to continue pretending that the Caldor fire is still going on when in fact it is not.
Yeah, so that is what I think is happening up north, is they're keeping this one going a little longer to continue the smoke so that people believe the Caldor fire is still going. There's absolutely no way of verifying that, because we can't go into these remote areas. And now that they're closing them, we absolutely can't go there to verify any of this. So I'm just seeing a correlation here between forest closures and burns. I mean, we had it right here. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's what I wanted to go over today. You want to stop the share?
Sure. And just for the record, it looks like the order to close these forests was issued on the 23rd, but it began on the 30th. I just saw that in passing on one of these articles.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
So they gave this order about a week in advance, but needless to say, you can see by the manner in which they extend these blocks of time is clearly because they're running a little behind and
running behind on schedule,
and how much forest saving that they're doing.
Right. And it's interesting because it's like they knew the exact time frame when fire danger would be present. I mean, they don't know. If they were really worried about fire danger and they thought that going into a forest for a hike or ride our horse is going to cause a fire, then they would have just said, we're just going to close them forever because you guys are irresponsible. I mean, that's just an excuse, I think. They seem to know exactly when it's going to start and exactly when it's going to stop.
Once again, the two main messages and purposes of this episode, like the others, is to, one, say to these parasites, we know what you're up to. They hate exposure above everything else. So it's important that we sort of bring these things to light and expose them, or at least reveal the motivations behind what they're doing. And people can use that to see whatever they're planning to do in the future. Rain from the Northwest usually comes into California in late October, early November. Hopefully it will happen earlier this year, but we still have about a month left where they're going to be able to do their prescribed burns and lie to whatever extent they feel they can get away with regarding them. So we'll just have to see what happens there. But the point is, you can look at these patterns that we've brought up on these fire-related episodes, and you can use those patterns to sort of predict what they're going to be doing in the future. And the second important purpose for these episodes about the fires is that, again, we have to be discerning in the information that comes to us, because I'm going to paraphrase something in your book. The humans are inherently lazy by nature when it comes to doing their due diligence, and the parasites take full advantage of this. So if you're going to, like that 2-minute read thing, it's like if you're really going to be that lazy and just want that quick, fast answer, that you're going to believe lies. Basically, I can't really put it any more lightly than that. This is how lies get spread, is because people want those quick answers, and they hear something that satisfies them for the time being, and they go with that.
Yeah.
That's how disinformation gets spread.
And the independent media is guilty of it too. So you have to take it all with a grain. Yeah, you have to take it all with a grain of salt. I mean,
people expect the mainstream media to lie, but they think the alternative media is their trustworthy source.
Yeah.
And that's simply not the case.
Well, let's just see if the El Dorado National Forest opens a little early after this little expose. Let's see if that prompts the parasites to discontinue this plan for the time being. They hate being exposed. So I don't know. Let's see what happens. But if you do live in California, it's important to know what's going on here. Even if you don't live in California, these prescribed burns happen nationwide. So you do need to check it out. Make sure you know what's going on in your own state. You can look at your local fire, I was going to say fire company's website.
Well, they are fire companies.
But we look at Cal Fire. And looking at Cal Fire is the most accurate information we can get. It's still not accurate fully, but it does give a good gauge of what's going on. Somehow these fires in the Sequoia National Forest are not showing up on CAL FIRE's map as CAL FIRE incidents. I can't help but wonder if perhaps these are also controlled burns. There's a lot in the news right now about threats to giant sequoia trees, such as General Sherman, and that they're wrapping these trees in foil to prevent them from burning. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's not showing up in CAL FIRE's map. So
Perhaps
hopefully
it's not a big deal, not as big a deal as they're making it out to be.
And if you do live in California, this is also a way that you can be more informed and not be afraid. Because when this fire season started, I was afraid because I knew what kind of plans they had for us. And we started the summer with wildfires right off the bat, right here in our community. So it was scary. But I am seeing that these fires are easily controlled now. The land is not as parched as they say, obviously. So the fires don't spread out of control, but these controlled burns are creating an atmosphere of fire as if it's happening everywhere. So just be aware that that's what they're doing. And you do have to protect yourself and stay in on those days. Do the best you can to deal with the bad air. Gift Organite, it does help with air pollution. It does help increase rain. So there are things we can do, but being informed is one of the best things we can do.
Absolutely. And an atmosphere of fear, I think, is what they used in one of those articles. Not in this episode.
They should, because that's totally what they're doing.
Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We wish you a happy autumnal equinox. I'm very glad that summer is coming to an end, and my favorite season, fall, is about to begin. Of course, summer is my least favorite season. I wonder why.
It's the parasites' favorite season.
Yeah, it is.
They love heat and drought.
But there is no drought.
Nope.
And we're moving to a much more pleasant time of year. And I predict an off the charts rainy season for California, but not a destructive one. That's my prediction. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please come to our website, www.thekembo.com, and please check out all of our links. We've got videos. You can learn how to make your own Organite. You can order from us and support our work if you like it. It goes a long way. We couldn't have done Project Monsoon without your generous contributions. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you again next time.